Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm doing a video on the top 10 fragrances that I tried really hard to like, but I just couldn't like. So stay tuned for that. If you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Really do appreciate it. So for this list, I picked 10 fragrances that are really well loved, really well hyped, that I tried numerous times, and because they're so popular, I did try them quite a few times, and I never really could fall in love with any of these fragrances. Before I get into that list, leave a comment down below what's one hyped up fragrance that you just could not like. Anyways, I'm going to start the list off with one that is very, very popular, and it is popular for, well, actually a lot of people wear it year-round, and that's Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. I tried this one more than a couple times, and actually the immediate reaction I had with this fragrance was an instant scrubber. It was just very, very harsh, and it did not sit well with me. I know that some Chanel fragrances, especially up close, can be a little harsh. Even like Bleu de Chanel EDT smells great in the air, but up close it does smell a little bit harsh, and I definitely got that vibe very, very much from Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. I also don't really like the tonka in the fragrance. I love tonka, but not in this fragrance. Personally, I like Allure Homme Sport. I think it's a fantastic fragrance. It's one of my favorite summer fragrances, and I probably would own it if it weren't for the fact it's very hard to find on a discount. But that is my number 10 spot. Number 9 spot is a very, very popular fragrance, and that is Baccarat Rouge 540. I've talked about this fragrance a couple times on my channel, so you probably are not surprised to hear this if you watch the content. The problem I get with this fragrance is that it largely smells like latex or a dentist office or something to me. And of course that's not appealing. That's not something that I want to smell. There are other fragrances with a similar DNA that worked much better for me. The best one I've found is Greenwich Village by Bond Number 9. It does have a hint of that sort of latexy kind of a vibe to it, but ultimately I get a lot of the sweetness. Instant Crush for me as well, a lot of that latex vibe, but about 3 hours in, then it smells amazing. The problem is, of course, I don't want to wear something for 3 hours that I don't enjoy just to get to something that I do. That is way too long. But anyways, all of those fragrances, a lot of the ones with that DNA just don't work for me. It doesn't work for my nose, and it doesn't work on my skin, so I don't really like it. Number 8, another very, very popular fragrance, and I've talked about this, and I know there are a number of people that feel similarly, and that's Aventus. Now this one I don't actually hate. It does smell nice enough. And I did have a nice decant of Emperor EDP, which I know is not Aventus, but it does smell like a little bit of an older batch. And I did kind of like it for a while, and I wore a good amount of it. But the thing I found with it is that especially whenever I wore it, it didn't feel like something that I would wear. It didn't feel like me. And I think that's the biggest put off. It's, again, I really like the birch. I think it's very high quality. The fruitiness can be nice as well, but it's just something about it did not work for me, and it doesn't work with who I am and my personality. So that is a pass for me. Another fragrance that I tried to like really hard, and I just did a review on, is L'Homme Ideal Cologne. Now, this one I don't know how popular it actually is. It has been hyped up recently because it's been discontinued. A lot of people talking about it. A lot of people do love this one. I've seen pictures of people in the group buying like 10 of it, which is crazy. To own 10 of anything sounds crazy to me. But it just, again, it's one of these ones that it has this nice creamy almond that I would love to see in some of the other flankers. I haven't tried lots of the other line. Would love to smell that sort of creamy almond in a fall winter fragrance. But as a summer fragrance, it was very hard for me to feel like they could pull it off and do it well. It has this kind of weird jello-y, aquatic, almost watery, creamy almond that does just come off as very weird smelling to me, and so I was not a big fan of that one. It didn't really work for me. Now, I don't hate it, but I don't really like it, and it does always, to me, feel a little bit weird. Next is Eros. This is another one I don't really hate, but I never really got the hype to it. I've worn it more than a few times, and I have, on occasion worn it because I saw somebody or seen somebody I knew liked it, and so I did wear it. Interestingly enough, I do actually like Flame. I find the cinnamon in the opening is really interesting to me, and it does have a little bit more of a mature vibe. Maybe that's kind of why I don't like Eros. I also don't get a strong mint, not the kind of mint that I like to smell, which would be fantastic. But I am looking forward to the EDP. It does sound good, but again, we'll see how much I actually like it. It depends on how similar it is to the original. But even if it's fairly similar with a twist to it, I might like it because I did like Eros Flame. Anyways, the next one, and this is a couple fragrances, but it's going to be one in general that I'm going to talk about, and that's Invictus. I was never a fan of this one. It came off to me as being too much, too cloying. It has that bubblegum DNA. It helped really popularize it. I think on first sniff I did like it, but it just became overwhelming. And I think that's a similar vibe with other fragrances, not necessarily like it, but really sort of the same time, similar kind of DNA. 1 Million, of course, to me was just way too cloying. I tried it. I liked it initially, and within 10 minutes of wearing it, it was just too overwhelming. It's too much. It's too cloying. Not to say I don't like any of the flankers. I am a fan of 1 Million Lucky. I also love 1 Million Privé. I also don't mind 1 Million Intense. So it is a pretty good... I mean, you have to give the fragrance respect because it's done a huge amount of business and it is a popular fragrance, but for me, it was just not one that I overwhelmingly enjoyed. Next on the list is Santal 33 by Le Labo. And this is actually one that I don't like the smell of. So this one actually smells really unpleasant to me. I've tried more than a couple times. It smells weird. A lot of people describe it as having this kind of pickly vibe. I don't really get that creamy santal or sandalwood that I would really hope for or want from a Santal 33, a sandalwood fragrance. It just does not work for me. It smells like pickle juice. It smells kind of gross, actually. And so I do avoid that one. I tried it several times, and every time I really disliked it. So that is not the fragrance for me. I do like some fragrances from Le Labo. Bergamot 22, Noir, I forget the number, but Noir 23 or whatever it is also really good. But for me, that one did not work at all. Next on the list, very popular fragrance, very hyped up, and it's not that it smelled bad, it's that to me it's cloying. It becomes cloying. And the fragrance is Annie by Nishane. A little bit happy that I didn't blind buy it. So for me, every Nishane fragrance that I own has actually been a blind buy. Been very happy with the brand. I really, I like their aesthetic. I like the fragrances that they have. And this one's very, very popular. So I did consider blind buying this fragrance. But I did decide against it, I guess mostly because I do like vanilla, but I'm not a huge vanilla fan. And since I'd watched some reviews on it, it kind of seemed like it would be something that maybe I like, but I don't really love, and I didn't want to buy it in the case that it was only a like. And I did get a sample of it. And the one thing that I think was disappointing, first of all, is I know a lot of people have described it as being a spicy vanilla, or a vanilla with some kind of spice to it, which I was really hoping to get because that sounds interesting to me, but I didn't really get a lot of that. I got more of citruses and a kind of almost weird jello-y vanilla that didn't smell necessarily bad, but it was so overwhelmingly strong that I think it's the kind of the downfall of the fragrance. For me, if I were to wear this one, I think it would be an outdoor fragrance. If I'm going somewhere that I know I'm going to be outside, you can wear a few sprays of that and it will definitely perform. People will still be able to smell you even though you're outdoors. But it is just, it's too strong can be a bad thing, and to me, this fragrance is definitely that. I sprayed it on in one test strip. I have a fairly decent sized room here, and in the hallway I could smell it quite strongly. And that's saying a lot. Even a lot of strong performers, that kind of sillage and projection off a strip from like probably 10-15 feet away, I wouldn't usually be able to smell it. I mean, there are some fragrances I have that are beasts like that, like Fetish EDP by Roja, which I do like a little bit more than that fragrance or than Annie, but all in all, it was just too overwhelming, it was too much, and it became kind of sickly and cloying. So the only thing I would say is if you do like this fragrance, that's fine. But I personally think this is a fragrance you need to go light on the trigger with, otherwise it is going to be overwhelming. Next one is Fucking Fabulous by Tom Ford. This one is actually not that hyped, so it has people who love it, people who don't. I think it is actually one that's more mixed, and I understand why. There are things about it that feel or smell pleasant. You know, it has these almond facets to it, but I also get what people describe as the Play-Doh vibe. And that's just kind of weird in a fragrance. You know, I'm not about that. I don't want to smell like Play-Doh. It is kind of weird, even though it's a childhood memory, and it doesn't really, it isn't the kind of thing that brings up good memories. Like, it doesn't bring up bad memories. It would be nice maybe if it smelled like Play-Doh and it reminded me of playing Play-Doh as a kid and it made me really happy, but it doesn't have that effect. It doesn't have a negative effect either. But it just ultimately was not one for me. Yeah, if it didn't have that Play-Doh vibe, I would actually probably really like the fragrance, but that is just weird, and I find it very hard to get over. Next one, a very popular niche fragrance, and that is Portrait of a Lady. And this is one also that I don't feel smells bad. It's just I could never see myself wearing it. To me, it is more Portrait of a Lady. It is a woman's fragrance, an upper class woman's fragrance. Probably an older lady. This is the kind of thing that if you want to smell rich and luxurious, that would be great for you to wear. But for me personally, I guess just the way it smells, it's very rose heavy, and I don't tend to like rose fragrances. Something like Toy Boy being a very good exception to that because it's so well done. But it's just another one that doesn't really work that well for me. I'm going to give you one bonus fragrance, and that is Azzaro Wild Mint. One I had high hopes for, a cheapie, so you gotta love it when it's a cheapie that you love. But for me, that sort of toothpaste vibe that it has was a little too much. It's not bad other than that, and if the mint came off not toothpastey, I probably would really like it. But just somehow the mint smells very toothpastey. In the opening, the initial burst reminds me of Crypto Mint. Then it quickly transitioned into a very potent toothpaste smell, which doesn't do it for me. It does have a bit of vetiver in the dried end, which is nice. And like I said, if the mint smelled like something other than toothpaste, for me, then it would be a definite win. But as is now, it was not one that I enjoyed. Anyways, guys, that's it. I'm going to cut the video right there. Leave a comment down below on a fragrance that is hyped up and loved by a lot of people, but no matter how hard you tried, you just couldn't like it. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.